loves, it's Jananie and welcome back to my channel, This Story Ain't Over. Today I thought it might be fun to go over my goals for 2024. These include personal goals, reading goals, and also channel goals. And I thought this might be a fun video to have to look back on at the end of 2024. I've got 10 major goals to go through today, and at the end of this video I'm also going to run you through my reading tracker template for Notion. This is something that I created last year and I did a whole video about it as well, about how I track my reading. And I've updated the template so that you guys can use it again for 2024. So stay tuned for the end of the video so that I can take you through that. So my first goal for 2024 is one that I actually stole from Kayla from Books and Lala. I was watching her 2024 reading goals video and she looks back on her 2023 reading goals video, and one of her goals was just to keep her channel running. This is something that's been definitely on my mind. As you guys know, 2023 was a pretty tough year for me, both personally and mentally, and I feel like 2024 is going to be a much more stable year for me in all aspects, and so I'm really excited to just be able to build consistency again. I'm hoping I can bring you guys new videos every week on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I feel like those are the two moments in the week that feels good for a new video, like midweek and then end of the week. But if you guys have a preference on posting days, let me know. And then another aspect to this goal is to keep making content for my exclusive bindery community. So if you didn't know already, I have a bindery community, which is basically like Patreon plus publishing. Essentially, you can support me for the cost of like a coffee and you get access to all this exclusive content from me. What makes bindery unique though is that part of the subscription that you pay goes towards the publishing imprint that I've started with bindery. So my publishing imprint is called Boundless Press and it's committed to publishing marginalized authors and underrepresented authors, and the types of books that I want to publish with my imprint are the kind of books that I tell you guys about on my channel here. I really want to publish like books that I'm gonna love and that you guys will also love. But even if you're not interested in the publishing side of bindery, you can still sign up and join to get the exclusive content for me. So this includes monthly TBR videos that I'll be doing. My January TBR video is already up on bindery, so you can go check that out. And in those videos, I'm not only telling you what I'm hoping to read for the month, but also the videos that I have planned for the month. Some other perks that you'll get with bindery is some progress updates on the vlogs that I'm doing, weekly journal entries, which I am so excited about. I did one for the end of the year, and each of these journal entries will be just like a moment for me to reflect on the week, on what I'm feeling, tell you what I'm doing aside from, you know, the booktuber aspect of my life, and just have a moment to connect with you guys in like a deeper personal level. And then the last really awesome perk that I am so excited about for my bindery community is that I'll be doing monthly Zoom hangouts. So when I'm filming this, we already have one scheduled for like the Monday that's coming up, but this video will be going up after that. But these monthly hangouts are essentially an opportunity for me to get to know my bindery community a little bit better, you know, chit chat with them, learn about their lives and what they're up to, and then also do some reading sprints along the way. So if you're intrigued by any of these fun perks and you want to support me in some way and help this channel run, then please go sign up down below. So with that said, content is like really big on my mind, you know, making sure that I can stay consistent with all of these things and provide you guys with the content that I'm hoping you'll enjoy, and also be able to read consistently so that I can give you new and exciting content. Now, part of achieving this goal involves me mastering some sort of my productivity and making sure that I am always finding the joy in the work that I'm doing. And one of the ways I'm hoping to master my productivity is through Skillshare, who is kindly sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives, and they have a large range of classes and learning paths that cover a broad range of topics. This includes illustration, graphic design, video editing, productivity, art, marketing, music, and so many more. One thing I really love about Skillshare is that they have some really wonderful teachers on the platform, and one of my particular favorite teachers on Skillshare is Ali Abdal, who has a YouTube channel as well. He's super huge in the productivity sphere. He also has a book that just came out, Feel Good Productivity. And one of the things that I really love about his approach to productivity is just making sure you're finding the joy in all of the work that you're doing. So as I just said, one of my goals for the year is to master my productivity a little bit and get more consistent with my workflow. And one of the ways I'm hoping to achieve that is through one of the learning paths on Skillshare. So Master Your Productivity with Ali Abdal is one of the learning paths on Skillshare, and in it there are several courses by Ali Abdal. I have taken a couple of them before, and then there's a few that I haven't, including his most recent one, which is a productivity masterclass with Notion. So if you're a big Notion user like me, or you want to get into Notion, I think this class is perfect for you, and maybe even this whole learning path. So whether you're like me and you're trying to find the joy in your productivity for this year, or you're just trying to learn something new this year, I highly recommend using Skillshare to do so. And luckily for you, I have an exclusive 1-month free trial offer for the first 500 people who click the link in my description. Follow that link and get that free trial and learn something new this year, or make make the move towards achieving one of your goals for the year. Alrighty, with that said, goal number 2 is on a similar vein, and that is to keep my book club going. So for those of you who haven't heard or don't follow me on Instagram at thisstoryaintover, I did announce that my book club, which was formerly known as the Read and Color Book Club, has now relaunched as the Boundless Book Club, which I think is just a name that fits it a little bit better and encompasses more of the idea of what I wanted to accomplish with the book club. But essentially, the book club is oriented towards those of you who are trying to expand your reading horizons and, you know, discover underrepresented or marginalized authors. It's very much the mission that I also want to achieve with my publishing imprint Under Bindery. So the book club has relaunched for 2024, and for each month of this year, we'll be reading a different book. And our monthly discussions will be held on the app Fable, which is where we were holding our discussions before. The really nice thing about Fable is that it's like an exclusive app just for reading. And in the book club, you'll be able to discuss the book without any spoilers because each chapter is given a little chat room. And that way you can express all your thoughts about that chapter without spoiling anyone who is still behind. So the book for January is Against the Loveless World by Susan Abulhawa. I am loving this book already, and I've just been like highlighting so many lines in the book. Fable also has an interactive e-reader on the app where you can read the book on the app and like highlight different lines and add reactions, and it's a form of social reading because the other members of the book club can see what you've highlighted and where you've reacted, and so it's just like a fun way to connect with other people while you're reading the book. So yeah, I've just been highlighting so many lines in the book because it's just so fantastic, and I'm hoping to finish it soon. But with February on the horizon, we are voting on our next book club pick. I put this poll up the day I'm filming this, but I think this video is going to come out just after the poll closes. But regardless though, you'll have the opportunity to vote on future book club picks, which is something that I did not do in the previous iteration of this book club. So hopefully you guys will enjoy the chance to like decide the fate of the book club and read more of what you'd like to read. When the book club went on hiatus, I really did miss it, and I'm so glad that it's coming back and that I get to again have this more personal contact with all of you guys on Fable and get to discuss the books in real time. The link is down in the description to join, and it's a free app, so yeah, I hope you guys will come along for the journey. Alrighty, goal number 3 is again on a similar note, and that is to make short form content. So as you guys know, I'm mostly a YouTuber, but I do have an Instagram where I post a lot about books. If you haven't followed me already, it's at thisstoryaintover. But I do also have a TikTok, which is also linked down below. And recently I've been feeling like I want to try doing short form content and sort of discuss books in a different format. If you've been following me on Instagram and TikTok, you know that I've already been posting a bunch of short form content for the beginning of this year, and I've actually been having a lot of fun with it. It's like this weird and fun opportunity to just like recommend books without having to chat about them too much, but also getting to go in depth about a certain specific thing that I wouldn't necessarily want to put in a longer video on YouTube. The other day I put up a TikTok talking about which Emily Henry book is the best one I wanted to discuss. And another time I posted a recommendation video, you know, if you like this, read this, which is a video that I sometimes do on YouTube, but it's nice to just do a one-off of one recommendation in a short form context. Anyways, I've just been really proud of the content that I've been making on there, so I hope you guys will go follow me along for this journey of me making short form content for the year. Alrighty, now we're getting into some of the reading goals. So goal number 4 is to read at least 52 books for the year. So this is a fairly straightforward goal. I think there are 52 weeks in the year, and I want to read at least one book for each week in the year. Funnily enough, we're midway through January when I'm filming this, and I have been reading a lot more than I usually do, and I feel like I've just reinvigorated my love for reading somehow this year, and I'm really, really happy about that. So although I've placed my goal at 52 books, I do feel like I'm gonna surpass it at some point just because I read so much for my channel so that I can make content for you guys. So I end up needing to read more than the typical person. Another reason why I chose this goal though is that in previous years, like I've sort of waffled between like 50 to 70 books. So I feel like this is a nice, safe goal that doesn't feel too hard, and I don't have to stress about like making the goal. But if you're looking at my goal and you're thinking, oh my god, that's so many books, it is a lot of books, and I think no one should feel ashamed or bad about your reading goals. If you're only reading like 1 book or 2 books a year, that's still something. You're still reading more than a lot of people out there, so please don't feel discouraged just by like watching me or other booktubers, you know, reading so many books in a year. I know there are some booktubers who read like 200 books in a year or like over that, and it's an insane amount, but they obviously have different priorities than you do or I do, and we all have our own things going on. So yeah, never let the idea of like you not reading that much stop you, because this is supposed to be something that's fun. It's a hobby. It's something that brings us joy. So yeah, I hope you guys won't be too hard on yourselves. Speaking of not being hard on myself, goal number 5 is to DNF, and DNF my way through the year. One thing about 2023 that I did enjoy about my reading was that I DNF'd indiscriminately. I got so tired of pushing myself through books that I wasn't enjoying, and so I ended up just DNFing, do not finishing many books. And I think that helped me a lot in the long run because I ended up moving on to books that I was actually enjoying. And it also helped me hone my reading taste a little bit better because I was able to try books without the fear of like knowing I had to finish it. I think it's a stupid notion to think that you have to finish a book just because you started it. If you're not enjoying it, come back to it later if you really, really want to. But if it's not giving you joy in the moment, then move on. Life is too short and I don't feel like feeling guilty over a book. With that said, goal number 6 is a nice spicy one, and that is to read more of my long-term physical TBR. And if you watch my recent video where I went through that entire long-term physical TBR, you know that my challenge for this year is to read those books or unhaul them by the end of the year if I don't get to them. Now, this may seem like an extreme goal, but I have a reason for this. There are so many books on my shelves that I've owned for over a year, over 2 years, that I have not gotten around to. And a lot of them are books that, you know, I thought in the moment, oh, I need to read this, and so I bought them, or I had them gifted to me, or whatever. But then my taste has changed along the way, or I've realized it's not really something that I would want to read. So I'm challenging myself to do this because I want to cull my collection of books to the books that I really love and enjoy. And this is a very privileged problem, I am aware. When I was a kid, you know, I only borrowed books from the library, and then I only bought the books that like I really, really loved and had read already. So I definitely understand the privilege of having this problem. But yes, I would like to give these books on to people who will actually read them if I don't think I'm actually going to get to them this year. So while this goal is about getting through most of these books and reading them, it's also about getting rid of the ones that I don't want to read. So if you haven't watched that video already, go check it out. There's like over 60 books on that list, and they range in different genres, but it's also full of a bunch of books that I'm really, really excited for. So yeah, a lot of you have been commenting on that video, letting me know which ones are your favorites and which ones you think I should pick up very soon. So I'm taking all of those comments into my brain, and I am considering them for when I actually pick up these books. So if you want to cast your vote into which books I pick up, go do that. Goal number 7 is one that I think is particular to me, and this has to do with my ADHD and the fact that certain things I need to do require more energy from me to actually focus on, and my brain tends to work at a faster rate than a lot of other people, and so I need to be stimulated in a different way. But this goal is essentially to have patience and to not rush through things. I have found that in the past year or so, I have developed this habit of rushing through reading books, whether it's for a video or just because I feel this need that I need to get to the end of it, not because I'm necessarily enjoying it, but just because I'm like, I need to finish it. And so I want to rid myself of this tendency, I guess. It happens a lot when I'm listening to audiobooks where I'm listening to it on really fast speed, but then my mind wanders, but then I don't rewind and re-listen to parts, and then I get confused, and then I'm not enjoying the book as much, and yada yada yada. So that's happened on the one hand, but audiobooks are really, really beneficial to me because I do not have the capacity to just sit and read books sometimes. Most days I actually get most of my reading done through audiobooks because I need to be moving or doing something else with my body as I'm taking the story in, and I physically just cannot sit in one place and read endlessly. So essentially with this goal, I'm not trying to change like my habits of listening to audiobooks. It's just that I want to change the way that I engage with the books while I'm listening to the audiobooks. So I want to try to go slower with them, and I also want to make sure that I take the time to re-listen to parts if I'm missing something or if I'm getting confused. Sometimes I just get lazy and I don't want to do that, but I think there's an importance to re-engaging with the book so that I'm still enjoying it later on. This goal is a really specific one to me, but if you relate, let me know down below. Alrighty, goal number 8 is one that I've never actually set as a goal, I think, and that is to read more mystery thriller books. So this might seem like a weird one to you guys, but The reason I have this goal is because in the past 3 years, I think my reading taste has shifted immensely. For those of you who have been following my channel for years now, you know that I started out reading a lot of YA and a lot of fantasy. And since then, my reading taste has evolved more towards a lot of other genres, especially now that I'm reading, you know, almost exclusively adult books. I tend to read a lot more literary fiction, contemporary fiction, historical fiction. I read a lot more horror and sci-fi. And I've also tapped a lot more into nonfiction as well. I really loved all of the memoirs that I read in 2023. But the one genre that I've never really tapped into is mystery thrillers. I've read like the odd one here and there over the years, but I haven't really tapped into a lot of like the big names in mystery thriller, and I haven't really made a concentrated effort to read a bunch. I feel like I've read so few mystery thrillers that I can't really judge my thoughts on the genre and how I feel about them the way that I do with other genres. We'll see how this goal goes. I feel like it'll involve me doing some sort of challenge video reading a bunch of mystery thrillers, but if you guys have any recommendations for mystery thrillers, then leave them down below and maybe I'll use them for a video coming up. Alrighty, goal number 9 is one that's pretty similar to goal 8, and that is to read more translated fiction. I've set this as a goal in previous years before and I've never really achieved it. It's been more of a soft goal for me, like it's not a super high priority, but I do want to try to do it at some point. And I feel like recently there's been so many more translated fictions that I've been hearing people talk about and say that they love, and so I've really had my like interest piqued. So I definitely think I want to try and prioritize translated fiction this year. I feel like there's a whole world of literature out there that I am missing out on and I want to get in on it. Alrighty, my last goal, goal number 10, is to build more community online and offline. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot more in recent months, and I think part of it was ignited with my new bindery community, but also with my new free Discord community. If you haven't joined my free Discord community yet, go check it out down below. It's this really fun place where we chit chat about different things, whether it's books or movies or TV shows or pets. And I also randomly host reading sprints on there as well whenever I have the time. I love being able to just like chat with you guys and hear what you guys are up to and really put more faces and names to like the people who watch me. So I think the idea generally with this goal is just to continue like connecting with you guys in these different ways online, also in my book club. And I also really want to do some form of offline connection with you guys. So I'm hoping that in 2024, especially when the weather gets better here in Toronto, that I can do some sort of in-person meetup in Toronto. If you aren't familiar, I'm from Canada. I live in Toronto. So I'm hoping to do some meetups here, but I'm also hoping that maybe when I travel at some points during this year or in the coming years, that I can do some meetups wherever I go. I really enjoy putting faces to like the lovely community that I have here, and I like getting to know some of you and feeling like more of a connection to all of you. Anyways, this goal is just essentially me reiterating how much I appreciate all of you and how you guys bring so much joy to my life. My life would not be the same if I hadn't created this channel, if all of you weren't here for the journey. I'm just really grateful being here in 2024 and knowing that you're all here with me. Okay, so with all that said, it's time to take you guys through my reading tracker, which is this lovely little Notion template that I've set up that you can make a copy of to track your own reading for 2024. So I'm just gonna show you my 2023 tracker just so you can see a sense of it filled out. So essentially the way it works is that I have a tab for each year, and recently I also instituted a currently reading tab just so that I have like a bird's eye view of all the books I'm currently in the middle of, because ADHD, I'm always in the middle of like 5 different books. But the way this works is essentially we have a entry for each book that you've read for the year, and there's several different pieces of information that you can put into this tracker to just have an overall view of your reading. So it usually starts with the title, the author, the date that you started reading the book, and then the date that you finished reading it. Obviously you can track this kind of stuff on Goodreads or Storygraph or whatever, but I personally just like having my own tracker to look at without it being like on a technically social platform. And that was part of the impetus for me making this tracker, because I had a bunch of like secret videos that I wanted to work on, but I didn't want you guys to know what I was in the middle of reading, but I still wanted to track it in some way. It's also just nice to track the dates that you read books, just so that you can like look back and think, oh yeah, like these were the books that I read during that time in my life. The next thing on here is a 1-sentence review. This is pretty straightforward, but it gives you like a bird's eye view of what you thought of the book. And then the next column I have is a verdict. So the reason I called this a verdict is because it just feels like a ruling, you know, like on the book, like what you thought of it. This is the ruling. And I've got different options here because of the person that I am. So not for me, which means like I did not like it, just okay, fairly straightforward. Highly enjoyable, love, life-changing is like the highest tier of these verdicts for me. And then I've got DNF because I've found in this past year, I do like tracking the books that I DNF'd so that I can see the patterns in the things that I don't like. And then I've also got like 2 more mild verdicts. So it's an important read, but it's not necessarily one that you think you can like rate in a certain way. And then we've got simply enjoyable. So this is just above, just okay, but a bit below highly enjoyable. Actually, thinking about this now, I should probably order it so that it's like this. And then the next thing on this tracker is a star rating. So I've got it set up so that you can do half stars as well. And then this next column is one that I think comes in handy sometimes when you're trying to recommend a book to someone else. It's just a simple short description of that book. You can do it in full sentences or in bullet points, but it's essentially a really short elevator pitch of what the book is about so that you can remember what it's about, and also you can tell someone the premise if you're trying to recommend it to them. And then the last 4 columns here have to do with just me wanting to track like the different themes that I'm reading and, you know, the types of people I'm reading from, the types of perspectives I'm reading from. So I've got a column for genres and themes. So obviously this covers like, you know, the main big genres, but it also covers different themes that I see in books, like whether it's vampires or politics, or if it has a sapphic relationship, or if it deals with mental health. Like, I like to know these things. So when you actually make a copy of this tracker for yourself, you can add your own like themes that you want to track as you're going through the books that you read in the year. So I regularly add more things to this list just because it's nice to see at a glance like what the book deals with and maybe even the triggers that it has. And then the next column is formats, and this is where I track like the format that I read the book in, so whether it was like the paperback or hardcover or an audiobook or an ebook. And I also like to track if it was like a book that I borrowed from the library, or if it's a book that I own, or if it's a book that was gifted to me. Like, I sometimes just want to remember whether I read something on the audiobook versus like the physical copy. And then the last 2 columns here are kind of optional, but I feel like these come in really handy for me, especially because I personally really like to pay attention to the different perspectives that I'm reading from and the different types of people I'm reading from. And it is like my life mission to make sure that I'm always reading from underrepresented and marginalized authors and authors of color. So I just have this column where you can just check off if an author is an author of color, so that you can at the end of the year see the ratio that you have between white authors and authors of color, and see how you've been prioritizing one or the other, and see how you may have been reading more white authors without even realizing it. Publishing, as we know, is very white, and authors of color rarely get chances or see their books do as well as many white authors. So for me, it's just a major priority to read from authors of color. And then the last column is author details, and this is again kind of optional, but I personally do like to track if I'm reading from like queer authors or Black authors or authors from a specific like background or nationality or ethnicity or whatever. I've been wanting to prioritize reading more Tamil authors because I'm Tamil. I've also been wanting to prioritize reading more books by queer authors. So this is just a way for me to track if I am hitting those thresholds that I want to be. So that's essentially the tracker. So this is the actual template version of it. And if you use the link in my description, you can essentially just make a copy of it into your Notion, and then you can customize it as you want. So yeah, I hope that was helpful and that you guys will be able to use this for your reading. And I hope you guys enjoyed hearing from me on my goals for 2024. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video, and please remember that this story ain't over. Bye!